Field and Warrior Phase, Fort Durance, Week 7, when control meets chaos. Phase 3 did not begin on the parade deck. There were no rifles staged neatly, no instructors waiting in formation, no clear boundary between training and consequence. The wolves were woken at 0200 by concussion. Not simulated. Real breaching charges detonated along the perimeter of the barracks complex, shockwaves rippling through concrete and bone. Emergency lights snapped on. Sirens screamed, not the administrative alarms of Phase 1, but the deeper, war reserve tone used only for live base contingencies. Before anyone could move, the intercom crackled. Field phase commences now. They were given 90 seconds. 90 seconds to kit up, secure weapons, form elements, and move. No roll call, no accountability check. The kill hat was already outside, silhouetted against the floodlights, rifle slung, helmet on. "If you miss this movement," he shouted over the alarms, "you're behind for the rest of the phase." They moved. Not as individuals scrambling, but as a unit executing muscle memory burned in through weeks of punishment. Harnesses clipped, weapons checked by touch alone, spacing corrected instinctively. Kyle took point without being told, not because he was alpha, but because no one else challenged the decision. They boarded transport vehicles without ceremony. Engines roared. The gates of Fort Durance opened for the first time since their arrival. They did not look back. Drop-off occurred 20 miles into restricted terrain, high desert bleeding into broken forest, elevation changes sharp enough to punish joints already worn thin. The senior drill instructor addressed them briefly. "You will navigate to checkpoints using issued tools," he said. "Your instincts will lie to you." He looked directly at Joran Pike. "Especially yours." Maps were issued, deliberately outdated. Compasses followed, deliberately miscalibrated. "Fix it," the knowledge hat. "Oh," said, "or get lost." They were split into fire teams. No alpha designation, no pack hierarchy. Leadership rotated whether the wolves liked it or not. Naira Voss led first. She moved cautiously, too cautiously. The kill hat appeared out of nowhere. "Why are you slow?" Naira answered evenly. "Terrain uncertainty." "Wrong," he snapped. "You're afraid of being wrong." He leaned close. "Speed is confidence. Confidence is survival." Naira adjusted. The team reached the checkpoint barely within the time window, barely counted. They lived in the field now. Sleep occurred in fragments, 30 minutes here, 10 there, often interrupted by surprise contact drills. Food was scarce. Water had to be found, filtered, defended. The wolves learned quickly that endurance was not enough. Coordination mattered more. Edric Vale took leadership during a river crossing evolution. His plan was precise, too precise. When a sudden current shift knocked Caldus Reeve off balance, the Hahor plan collapsed. Edric froze. Just for a moment. The kill hat seized that moment. "You just lost a Marine," he barked. Caldus recovered on his own, but the lesson stuck. Perfection without adaptability killed. The obstacle course was not a course. It was a series of injuries waiting to happen. Razor-edged walls, unstable platforms, weighted climbs under live fire overhead, not aimed at them, but close enough to remind them of consequence. Ciela Thorne tore a ligament on the third obstacle. She did not stop. The corpsman flagged her. The senior drill instructor shook his head. "She stops when she can't contribute," he said. "Not when it hurts." Ciela completed the course. She collapsed afterward. She was carried, not removed. Medical drills followed immediately. No rest. Simulated casualties screamed, bled, fought treatment. Time limits were brutal. Torin Blackmare froze during his first attempt, hands shaking as he tried to apply a tourniquet. The knowledge hat knelt beside him. Look at me, he said quietly. Fear is normal. Delay is fatal. Torin completed the task. Too slow, he repeated it, again and again, until his hands stopped shaking. Advanced MCMAP was different. No belts, no ceremony, just violence. Controlled, deliberate, exhausting. Edged weapons were introduced. Improvised tools, environmental lethality. The senior drill instructor addressed them before the first evolution. You are predators, he said. That does not make you warriors. He gestured to the instructors. They will hurt you. You will not lose control. Kyle was paired against 2 instructors. He lost. Badly. Not because he was weaker, but because he tried to dominate instead of endure. The senior watched silently. Later, he spoke. You don't win by overpowering, he said. You win by outlasting. Kyle adjusted. He did not lose again. The gas chamber came at the end of week 8. Masks on. Instructions clear, then chaos. Masks ripped off, mid-evolution. Command screamed through burning lungs, eyes streaming, balance gone. The wolves fought instinct, panic clawing at their minds. Naira nearly bolted. She stopped herself. Thane Kor carried Bram Noctis out when his lungs seized. The senior drill instructor stood outside, unmoved. You leave no one, he said, even when your body tells you to. They remembered. By week 9, the wolves no longer knew how long they had been awake. Sleep came in stolen fragments, 5 minutes leaning against rock, 10 minutes curled beneath brush, while another stood watch. Dreams bled into waking thought. Shadows moved that weren't there. Sounds carried meanings they shouldn't. This was intentional. The instructors were no longer testing skill. They were testing identity. It began with a mistake. A small one. During a night movement through broken ravines, Elowen Cade misjudged spacing by less than a meter. It was enough. Joran Pike collided with her flank. Noise carried. A flare ignited overhead, flooding the ravine with white light. Contact! Simulated! The kill hat roared from somewhere unseen. Immediate corrective fire drills followed. Positions shifted. Fields of fire re-established. But the damage wasn't tactical. It was internal. Elowen froze afterward. Head lowered. Breathing controlled but shallow. The kill hat stepped into her space. Why? He demanded. Elowen did not answer. I asked you a question. She met his gaze at last. Fatigue, she said. The kill hat smiled. Wrong, he said softly. Doubt. He turned to the unit. She hesitated because she stopped trusting herself. Silence. Doubt spreads, he continued. You let it. No punishment followed. That was worse. Over the next days, cohesion strained. Not in open conflict, but in subtle fractures. Commands were obeyed, but not anticipated. Corrections came a half-second late. Eyes lingered on instructors instead of terrain. The wolves were still, disciplined. They were no longer fluid. The senior drill instructor noticed immediately. During a field halt, he addressed Kyle directly. You feel it, he said. Kyle did not answer. Your unit is waiting again, the senior continued. Waiting for direction, waiting for certainty. He leaned closer. You don't get either. Mela Rusk broke first. It happened during an extended patrol with 0 resupply, 18 hours continuous movement through jagged elevation changes. Rusk lagged, not physically, mentally. When Naira signaled a halt, Rusk didn't register it in time. He stepped forward, exposing the unit's silhouette. The kill hat intervened instantly. Freeze. Rusk stopped, but too late. The senior drill instructor approached. You endangered them, he said evenly. Rusk's jaw clenched. His breathing quickened. I was moving, Rusk said. That's the problem, the senior replied. You weren't thinking. Rusk's restraint cracked. "We're exhausted," he snapped. The words hung in the air like a gunshot. The senior drill instructor's expression did not change. "Correct," he said. "So is the enemy." He turned away. "Get him back in line." No further comment. Rusk did not speak again for 2 days. Leadership rotations increased in frequency. No notice, no preparation. One moment Kyle led. The next, Ciela Thorne was ordered forward. Injured leg wrapped, painkillers denied. "Lead," the senior said. Ciela didn't hesitate. Her leadership was blunt, direct, minimal. It worked. Later, Torin Blackmere took command and failed. He overcommunicated, second-guessed, corrected himself mid-command. The kill hat shut it down. "You're thinking too much." Torin lowered his head. "You don't get clarity," the kill hat continued. "You get responsibility." Torin adjusted. The next iteration was cleaner, still not perfect, closer. The final major evolution of Phase 3 began without explanation. They were inserted into a mock village complex, structures partially collapsed, visibility low, comms degraded by interference, objectives conflicted. Extract an asset, secure intel, maintain perimeter integrity. Impossible to do all three perfectly. The wolves argued, not verbally, but through movement, hesitation, counter-signals. The kill hat observed silently. The senior drill instructor watched from a distance. Finally, Kekel made a decision. He abandoned one objective to secure the others. The asset was lost. The mission succeeded. Afterward, the senior addressed them. "You chose," he said, "and you paid." He looked at Kyle. "Why?" Kyle answered carefully. "Because trying to do everything would have failed everything." The senior nodded. "Acceptable." He turned to the unit. "You will never get perfect conditions. You will never get full information." He paused. "You will get consequences." That night, during a brief halt, Naira approached Eloan. No words were exchanged. Naira simply adjusted Eloan's harness, tightened a strap Eloan had missed. Eloan nodded once. Trust restored, not through reassurance, but competence. The instructors noticed. They said nothing. By the end of week 10, the wolves moved differently again. Not as a pack, not as individuals, as a unit. Commands flowed. Corrections happened without ego. Fatigue was acknowledged but ignored. They were no longer waiting. They were acting. The senior drill instructor assembled them one last time in the field. No one moved. "You've learned what fatigue does," he continued. "What doubt does. What pressure strips away." He stepped closer. "What remains is what you'll fight with." A pause. "The crucible is not training." The kill hat grinned. "It's accounting." The wolves stood silently, bodies battered, minds razor-focused. They were cohesive now, not because they trusted each other blindly, but because they trusted the standard. Fort Durance. Final days before the crucible. After this, there is no recovery. The instructors stopped pretending this was training. By the time Phase 3 entered its final stretch, the wolves understood something fundamental. No one here was trying to prepare them anymore. Preparation had ended weeks ago. What followed was subtraction, energy, certainty, comfort, identity, all removed. What remained would be measured. The senior drill instructor addressed them once. Only once. "You will not be rested again before the crucible," he said flatly. "You will not be whole. You will not be ready." He let that sit. The enemy never waits for readiness. Then he turned and walked away. That was the last orientation they received. The days that followed were structured to deny recovery, not through chaos, but through precision fatigue. Movements were long enough to deplete glycogen, but short enough to deny collapse. Loads were redistributed mid-march to punish adaptation. Terrain shifted constantly, gravel to shale to wet clay, destroying rhythm. Caldus Reeves' injured leg swelled again. No courseman intervened. The knowledge hat observed quietly, then altered Caldus's load distribution by 2 kilograms, just enough to increase pain without disabling function. "Adapt," he said. Caldus did. Teeth clenched, gait adjusted, pain compartmentalized. That was the point. Mental fatigue followed. Doctrine quizzes were reintroduced, not in classrooms but during movement. Questions shouted mid-climb, history demanded while under load, core values recited while balance trembled. Bram Noctis failed one. Just one. The kill hat stopped the entire unit. "Who failed?" Bram stepped forward. The kill hat nodded. "You didn't forget," he said. "You hesitated." He turned to the unit. "Hesitation is contagious." The consequence wasn't punishment, it was repetition. The entire unit repeated the evolution until Bram answered, without pause. He never hesitated again. Sleep deprivation deepened. 2 hours one night, 20 minutes the next, none after that. Hallucinations crept in. Shadows moved wrong. Sounds arrived early. Familiar scents appeared where none existed. Instinct screamed warnings constantly. Discipline muted it. Naira Voss reported auditory distortion during a movement halt. Protocol demanded reporting. The corpsman logged it. No action taken. "Not dangerous yet," he said. That was the threshold. The drill instructors spoke less now. Their presence alone exerted pressure. They observed from ridgelines, appeared suddenly during halts, vanished without explanation. Corrections were minimal, but absolute. Ciela Thorne misaligned spacing by inches during a night movement. The kill hat stopped beside her. "Again," he said quietly. No yelling. The unit reset. They repeated the movement. Perfect. The kill hat nodded once. That was approval. Mailer Rusk reached his limit during a forced endurance circuit, carrying combined load while executing problem-solving tasks. His breathing went ragged. Vision tunneled. Old instincts surged. Violence, dominance, forward momentum at all costs. He stopped himself, dropped to one knee, regulated breathing. The senior drill instructor appeared beside him. "You're learning," he said. Rusk looked up, eyes burning. "Learning what?" he asked. "That restraint is not weakness," the senior replied. "It's the last weapon you don't want to use." Rusk stood. Finished the evolution. He never argued with restraint again. By now, communication was minimal, not because they were forbidden, but because it was unnecessary. Micro-movements conveyed intent. Breathing cadence synced during climbs. Load shifts happened without command. Corin Vale adjusted Edric's harness without looking. Joran Pike altered point position instinctively when terrain changed. Cale no longer led overtly. Leadership flowed. That was cohesion. The final night before the crucible, they were isolated. No briefing. No countdown. They were simply marched into a holding area. Bare ground, cold air, no shelter. Weapons removed, food withheld. The senior drill instructor addressed them briefly. "Tomorrow, you will be tested," he said. He paused. "Not on what you can do." Another pause. "But on what you refuse to become." The kill hat added nothing. That silence was deliberate. As darkness settled, each wolf confronted something different. Kyle felt the weight of responsibility, not for command, but for example. Naira focused on breathing, suppressing intrusive thoughts. Thane Core repeated Doctrine silently to anchor his mind. Elo and Cade reviewed every mistake she'd made and accepted them. Rusk sat still, hands steady, aggression dormant, but present. They did not speak. They did not sleep. They endured. Just before dawn, the instructors returned. Weapons were reissued, not ceremonially, thrown back into waiting. Hands. The senior drill instructor looked at them one last time before the crucible. "You are depleted," he said. "You are damaged. You are uncertain." He nodded once. "Good." He stepped aside. The crucible begins. The wolves rose as one. No howls, no instinct, only discipline, honed to the edge of collapse. There would be no recovery now. Only endurance. Only accounting. Only the truth of who they were when everything else was gone.